Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful land of enchantment, which is also known as the state of New Mexico, right along the Albuquerque Rio Rancho area. And today's date, Friday, July 31st, 2015. Yeah, my friends, time is flying. Wow. I'm like, can we make it a little slower if we can? That'd be great. However, just, observing a few things. Everyone talking about Cecil the Lion, all that hype and hoopla. Like I tell people, don't believe the hype, because it can always get you in the butt. Always examine things responsibly. Don't jump on a bandwagon. Don't say me a petition. Oh, God, extradite this man in jail. They'll send him to Zimbabwe. You know what? People in Zimbabwe have enough. Have their hands full. They're not going to worry about some lion. So, it's just a shame. But if you have it roaming around the area, it can endanger people. It can endanger their property, their pets. You should always think about that. So that's enough for that area. I just recently found out, just a few minutes ago, that Rowdy Roddy Piper has passed away. He was 61 years old from a cardiac arrest. This is from TZM.com. TZM staff. It's exclusive. And as it reads here, wrestling legend Rowdy Roddy Piper has died at the age of 61, TZM Sports has learned. Piper, born Roderick George Toombs, died from a cardiac arrest in his sleep at his home in Hollywood on Thursday night. He was discovered on Friday. Piper was a wrestling icon, one of the biggest stars in the WWE back in the 80s. Even wrestled in WrestleMania 1 back in 1985, squaring off against Hulk Hogan and Mr. T. Roddy's reps tell us, I am devastated at this news. Rod was a good friend as well as a client and one of the most generous, sincere, and authentic people I have ever known. This is a true loss to us all. Piper has been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2006, but last November he said he was cancer-free. A family source tells us that he was cancer-free at the time of his death. A family member tells us our family is saddened by the sudden passing of our father and beloved husband, Roderick Toombs, a.k.a. Rowdy Roddy Piper. Rowdy was admitted into the WWE Hall of Fame back in 2005, was one of the top 50 villains in the history of the WWE. Roddy survived by his wife Kitty and their 4 kids, including 3 daughters and son Colton, who's pursuing a career in professional wrestling. The death is especially shocking considering which we just spoke to him on Friday and asked his opinion about the Hulk Hogan scandal. And there's a video on there, some video clips on here about it, a few things you could just check out yourselves. There's some nice little photos of him, and I know even Hulk Hogan, a lot of people were devastated. He made impact. I remember the time when he was in the NWA with a lot of Georgia wrestling with the late Gordon Soley, and he's always been a character during that time. Always loved him. Always loved his bigoted comments. One of the funniest things on Piper's Pit when he was insulting Rocky Johnson. That's Dwayne Johnson's father, by the way. Dwayne's a third-generation wrestler. And Roddy would just call him a boy and a chump, and it was hilarious when you watch it. When you watch, professional wrestling, I know it is. Jesse Ventura says the best, ballet with violence is entertaining, but these men, these athletes, wrestlers, they get seriously injured. I worked at some of these events, and I used to chat with a good amount of these professional wrestlers. They get banged up pretty damn bad. So you never ever say professional wrestling's fake. We can say it's orchestrated, sometimes improvised. That's part of their job, entertaining the crowd and putting their bodies on the line. But But even a lot of things, Roddy made me laugh. You know, he was a great ball buster. That was a great character role. Of course, when he told Rocky Johnson to shine his shoes, that stirred up the pot a little bit. But you know what? That's what part of he was doing his job. And even too, the movie he made was great. They Live, the John Carpenter movie about the New World Order, about aliens controlling the world, controlling the subconscious and all that. And take a look at these glasses. The guys are beating each other up so he can have them put on the glasses. But, all I have to say about Roddy Piper, he was a one of a kind. I always enjoyed him. Doesn't matter, good guy, bad guy, he was fun. Guy was a character. And it's a real sad day in this entertainment industry. One of the sad days in the entertainment industry. And I always like to thank him for entertaining us and making us feel good and just make us laugh. That's what he did. He made us laugh. He put his live body on the line too. And his soul will remain forever free. My condolences go out to all his family members, his friends. He had a lot of great people. A lot of great people knew him. He was even on Alex Jones too, so it was pretty interesting. Like whether you like Alex Jones or not. So, thank you, Roddy, for making us laugh again, entertaining us, and risking your life to make it reality. You are and always be a legend of the sport. And may your soul be forever free. Alright, next one here. And I'm scattering around, but I find it very interesting. And this is from BGR.com. It's interesting about the whole hype about Windows 10. And this was written by Zach Epstein. Came out today around 9:05 a.m., I would say Eastern Time. It's entitled, Windows is spying on almost everything you do. Here's how to opt out. And it reads here, Windows 10 is amazing. Windows 10 is fantastic. Windows 10 is glorious. Windows 10 is faster, smoother, and more user-friendly than any Windows operating system that has come before it. Windows 10 is everything Windows 8 should have been, addressing nearly all of the major problems users had with Microsoft's previous generation platform in one fell swoop. But there's something you should know. As you read this article from your newly upgraded PC, Windows 10 is spying on nearly everything you do. Excuse me here. Of course, there's a link about Windows 10, 5 first things you need to know immediately after you install it. And it says here, it's your own fault if you don't know that Windows 10 is spying on you. That's what people says when users fail to read through the company's terms of service document, right? Well, here is Microsoft's 12,000 word service agreement, and there's a link for that. Some of it's probably in English. Well, we're pretty sure that you can't steal Windows or use Windows to send spam. Also, that Microsoft retains the right to take possession of your firstborn child if it so chooses. And that's only of several documents you have to read through. Alright, it says here, actually, here's one excerpt from Microsoft's privacy statement that everyone can understand. Finally, we will access, disclose, and preserve personal data, including your content, such as contents of your email and emails, other private communication, or files in private folders. When we have a good faith belief that is doing this so necessary to comply with applicable law, respond to valid legal process, including from law enforcement or other government agencies, 2, to protect our customers, for example, to prevent spam or attempts to defraud users of the services, or to help prevent the loss of life or serious injury of anyone. 3, operate and maintain the security of our services, including to prevent or stop an attack on our computer systems or network. Ooh, interesting. Remember that could be a kill switch, allegedly. 4, protect the rights of property of Microsoft, including enforcing the terms governing the use of the services. However, if we receive information indicating that someone is using our services to traffic in stolen intellectual or physical property of Microsoft, we will not inspect a customer's private content ourselves, but we may refer the matter to law enforcement. If that sentence sends shivers down your spine, don't worry. As invasive as it is, Microsoft does not allow Windows 10 users to opt out all the features that might be considered invasions of privacy. Of course, users opt out in by default, which is more than a little disconcerting. But let's focus on a solution. Rock, Paper, Shogun has broken things down in 4 main bullet points that will guide you through regain control of your personal data. And I go here, it says first, you want to open settings and click on privacy. There you'll find 13 different screens. Yes, 13. To go through, and you want to disable anything that seems worrying. The blog notes that most of the important settings can be found on the General tab, though other tabs are important as well. For example, you'll definitely want to adjust what types of data each app on your system can access. Next, users should consider dumping Cortana. Yes, the voice-driven assistant is easily one of the best new features in Windows 10, but it also plays fast and loose with your data. As a result, many users will find that the benefits don't outweigh the risk. For the third task, you'll have to venture outside confines of your PC to hit the web. Perhaps this is a good opportunity to check out Microsoft's nifty New Edge browser. In it, click on this link and set both personalized ads in this browser and personalized ads whatever I use my Microsoft account to off. This will disable the Microsoft's Google style tracking feature. Interesting. Last tip is one that most users will likely forego, and it is a bit excessive. Rock, Paper, Shotgun recommends removing your Microsoft account from Windows 10 completely and using a newly made local account instead. This way Microsoft doesn't grab hold of all your data to sync it across machines. To us, that's great and useful feature, but if you want to kill it, just follow the link below in our source section for complete instructions and plenty more details. And as a must-read here, Windows 10, back to start menu. Here's how to customize it. And let's see what it has to say. It came out a couple days ago, so you can check out that link for sure. But you always, like I said, my friends, you always want to observe responsibly. So that's why never ever try to follow the hype and the hoopla. Always want to pay attention and look at the pros and cons of these web services, because that's one thing I have to learn too. I tried to use Fedora on my past computer, but what happened was my BIOS was totally shot, and it just kicked a bucket. So I had to get a new computer, which it's not the most expensive, but you know what? It's pretty cheap. I got a good deal out of it, so I couldn't complain. The whole thing is, too, my friends, you gotta really get just gotta stay focused, pay attention, and always examine everything thoroughly before you jump on it. It might look good in the TV ads, but the fine print can be real crappy. So that's what I always tell everyone. Always, please observe responsibly, examine everything thoroughly. Don't jump to conclusions. If it's not right for you, don't use it. There's other website services out there or servers out there that can really do its job. And I got everything mixed around here. I'm just gonna do this here. This is more like technology related. Right there, baby. Yeah, awesome. Exactly. So that's one thing about Windows 10. I haven't checked it out yet, so I can't make any conclusion. But there's plenty of links on here. Everything I'm going to be addressing will all be in on my footnotes on my Spreaker page. So you could re-examine it and all that, and you could have your own viewpoints, which is cool, man. You know, it's just like, hey, computers. Internet has its pros and cons, right? Remember that. So you always got to be smarter than the computer. All right, my friends, next one here. This is more technology related. This came out yesterday. This is by Sophie Cope from Electronic Frontier Foundation. And it says here, Unrealistic pleading standards, another injustice for human rights victims. The Second Court of Appeals dealt a blow to human rights victims when it's dismissed Barcelona versus Ford Motor Company this week. The appellate court distorted. Supreme Court President applying to any unrealistic and unfairly high pleading standard case brought to a black South African against IBM Corp. and Ford Motor Company for their roles in facilitating apartheid. In February, we filed an amicus brief in support of the plaintiff's case against IBM. The plaintiffs assert that IBM added and abetted the human rights abuses they suffered at the hands of the South African government by creating a computerized national ID system that white-run regime used for denationalization. IBM customized technology-enabled efficient identification, racial categorization, and forced segregation, the hallmarks of the systematic oppressions that strip South Africa's native population of its rights. Interesting. We believe strongly in innovation and the power of technology to be forced for good. We also believe that technology companies generally should not be liable for what their customers do with their products and services. However, there is a line that some companies cross, as we said in our amicus brief. U.S. corporations should not enjoy immunity for their purposeful assistance, technological or otherwise, in gross human rights violations. Technology, the capacity to protect human rights, but it can also be customized to make violations ruthlessly efficient. The Second Circuit Court upheld the district court's dismissal of the case with prejudice, which means the plaintiffs cannot refile their complaints. The plaintiffs relied on a law known as the Alien Tort Statute, which is a link for that, which allows non-citizens to bring a civil claim in U.S. federal court against a defendant that violates human rights laws. The Second Circuit opinion included two main conclusions, one good, one bad. On the good side, the Second Circuit rightly concluded that the plaintiff sufficiently alleged that the defendant took actions in the U.S. that had a clear link to the human rights abuses that occurred in a foreign country. The plaintiffs asserted that IBM developed the hardware and software for the national ID system in the U.S. and then transferred the technology to South Africa to be implemented by the government. This conclusion is consistent with the Supreme Court's ruling in Kayabel versus Royal Dutch Petroleum in 2013, that if a plaintiff wants to hold a defendant liable for human rights violations that occurred in another country under the ATS, the plaintiff must show that the claim touches and concerns the United States. So you have to have more valuable merit. On the bad side, the Second Circuit held that the plaintiffs did not properly plead the state of mind or mens rea element of an aiding and abetting claims under the ATS. In Mustafa versus Chevron Corp. in 2014, the Second Circuit held that the defendant accused of having aided and abetted a human rights violation under the ATS must have had a purpose to facilitate the commission of the crime by the principal perpetrator. As the Second Circuit further explained in this case, knowledge of or complicity in the perpetration of a crime without evidence that a defendant purposefully facilitated the commission of that crime is thus insufficient to establish a claim of aiding and abetting liability under the ATS. Emphasis added. This stage of the case, however, did not involve the consideration of the merits of the plaintiff's claim and the evaluation of evidence. Rather, it was pleading stage where the courts were obligated to consider whether the plaintiff's complaints sufficiently allege rather than prove a violation of law by IBM and Ford. In evaluating the sufficiency of the plaintiff's complaints on the mens rea element, the Second Circuit cited the twin Supreme Court cases Ashcroft versus Aquaball, which is 2009, and Bell Atlantic Corp versus Twombly in 2007, which held that a civil claim must be plausible on its face. So technically, it means I can use this terminology, prima facie. It means on its face. Okay, that's in Latin, it means prima facie. So I will continue on here. Circuit courts have since struggled to interpret these decisions. Legal commentators that critique these cases as creating a subjective standard because a claim must be believable at the outset before any hard facts are established. This raises serious access to justice issues for plaintiffs who must muster the facts without an opportunity to gather evidence through discovery. In this case, Second Circuit Court, the plausibility pleading standard to its most unjust extreme, using it to justify dismissing the plaintiff's complaints. The appellate court stated that the plaintiffs do not and cannot plausibly allege that by developing hardware and software to collect innocuous population data, IBM's purposely was to denationalize black South Africans and further the aims of a brutal regime, emphasis added. Thus, the appellate court said, in that effect, at least without smoking gun evidence, under no circumstances would judges ever believe that IBM could have purposefully aided and abetted the human rights abuses perpetrated by the apartheid government. This is an outrageous ruling on a motion to dismiss and creates an unrealistic and unfairly high hurdle for victims of heinous human rights violations or any plaintiffs seeking justice. Additionally, as we argued in our amicus brief, such mens rea can be inferred through circumstantial evidence or potentially proven directly through additional discovery. It is highly unlikely, given the circumstances at the time, that IBM's U.S. personnel intended to simply build a innocuous computer system. And it says here, the plaintiffs allege in this proposed amended complaints that the National Identification System was highly customized, requiring close collaboration with the South African government. Racial classification was primary identifying characteristic, and the equipment was leased. Given this, it is certainly plausible that the IBM network understood that the National Identification System was built for a client whose goal was to permanently segregate the blacks of the country and deprive them of their rights. The plausibility of proposed gets stronger given IBM New York's record of track affirmative steps to enable IBM South Africa or other under IBM's ambit to service the South African government despite increasing global knowledge and sentiment against the apartheid regime, U.S. sanctions, and the growing public divestment movement. The Second Circuit wants smoking gun evidence to be recited in the complaints that IBM intended to further the aims of a brutal regime, but it is unjust to expect the plaintiffs to have such direct evidence at the outset of the case. This is a propose of discovery. It is IBM that has a private correspondence and other private documentation that proves the state of mind of its U.S. personnel who approved on the work on the South African project. To expect plaintiffs to have access to evidence at the pleading stage that only IBM possesses is unrealistic and unfair. The plaintiffs have cited their complaints available public evidence, and that alone is sufficiently damning, such that the Second Circuit should have allowed the plaintiff's case against the IBM to move forward. Instead, the Second Circuit dealt a huge blow to human rights victims, and that's a real shame. Okay, and this has been going on for a good period of time too, with IBM and the whole thing involved with the apartheid in South Africa, which is just another example of a tyrannical government. And all across Africa, there's tyranny everywhere. But it was interesting. However, what I find interesting is like even his proven fact that them and Ford Motor Company, IBM and Ford Motor Company did almost the same thing. You know, with Germany, with Nazi Germany, aided them and so forth, and there was technology they used with the numbers. They got people that were claiming they're Jewish or other folks that were in the concentration camps. They all numbered, including Jehovah's Witnesses. So it doesn't matter. You have to look that up for yourself, so I'm not going to add it to the footnotes, but I do remember reading about that and watching documentaries on that as well. And even the Ford Motor Company was doing the same thing with Nazi Germany. So it's just, these big corporations can always have those little gaps, and I'm not saying there's nothing you can do, but I have to commend the people from South, for these victims. Because what they've done, they have made that message clear. This has happened before. So how many times IBM, maybe Ford Motor Company, or other multinational corporations are involved in abating tyrannical programs, such as what happened in South Africa, Nazi Germany, possibly China, we don't know. Hey, exactly. So you got to look at that in a bigger picture. It's disappointing and disturbing, but they had the courage to do this, and I have to thank them. I have to thank the EEF for trying to make this possible. And it's always been a pleasure to, if I read their work, I love to send out to everyone else, because a lot of people don't even know, because they're getting used to the cease of the lion. Okay, anything is all trendy. I don't. That's why I'll add it. I'll do that once in a while, but that's not my big plate. So I like to try to get the best information out there to let everyone know, share it, and you can make your own judgments. And Sophie Cope did a good job on writing this as well. But it is, like I said, it is good and bad. But one thing I'm happy about, these people you still got to respect what they've done. They didn't have enough evidence, which is a damn shame. But they have got people questioning. And remember, my friends, the past is today's greatest teacher, because IBM and Ford was involved with the Third Reich. And you can look that up yourselves. All right. Okay. Well, here's another thing technologically related, and this came from ZDNet, ZDNet.com. And this is good news here, because U.S. District Judge rules mobile phone tracking does require a warrant. It's a tug-of-war for cell phone privacy, as U.S. District Judge Lucy Coe rules mobile phones tracking does require a warrant. It is written by Stephen J. Von Nichols, and it came out. Wow, it just came out a while back, which is good. It's under networking. It says here, in May, the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th District Circuit ruled that cops don't need a warrant to grab a carrier's cell phone records. Not quite 3 months later, U.S. District Judge Lucy Coe of the Northern District of California ruled police must obtain a search warrant to seize your mobile phone records. Voila! Exactly. So you know what? To the U.S. Court of Appeals that says you don't need it, you can stick it. Resign. You're contaminating space. All right, but Judge Cole, nice job. And I'll continue on here. So, what does that mean? It does mean that sooner or later, Supreme Court of the United States will have to decide if the cops can track where have you been by your phone. Still, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF, EFF would argue that Coe's decision is the telling one. That's because Hani Fakhari, EEF senior staff attorney, argued the 11th Circuit Court was based on an old case considering analog era technology and hardly settles the question. In Coe's case, Assistant U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Shank has argued that cell phone users who are concerned about their privacy could either not carry phones or turn them off. He He said, yeah, I'm a bend over Bob to the state. That's right, Jeffrey, I'm calling you out. I'm a bend over Bob to the state. Ha ha ha. Okay, I will continue on here. Fortunately, Cole lives in the 21st century. She wrote, considering the ubiquity of cell phones and the important role they played in today's world, it is untenable to force individuals to connect from society so just they can avoid having their moments subsequently tracked by the government. Therefore, location data generated by continuously operating apps and phones automatically pinging cell towers doesn't amount to a voluntary conveyance of information to carriers. Thus, mobile phone tracking by police without a warrant would violate the Fourth Amendment's prohibition of unreasonable search and seizures. Let's check that out. See what they have to say here. Yep, that link would be from the Cornell. And it says here, No Little Plains Log Dictionary here. It says, a search and seizure by a law enforcement officer without a search warrant and without probable cause to believe that evidence of a crime is present. Such a search or seizure is unconstitutional under the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, applied to the states by the 14th Amendment. And don't forget the 9th as well, my friends. And evidence obtained from unlawful search may not be introduced in court. See the fruit of the poisonous tree. So yes, there's a link for that, and it is meritable. And it looked like I goofed up. Yes, I did. Shoo! But you know what? I am real happy to hear that. But I'm gonna get this back up. I'm gonna do my little rants. Bam. You know what? Okay, hold on. Where are you? Yeah, ZDNet. Yeah, ZDNet. Yeah, I goofed up here, but that's okay. Oh, I got it right here. Boom. And I'm gonna bring it right there. Boom. I got it back. All right, and go continue on here. Linda Lay, senior staff attorney at the ACLU Foundation of Northern California, told the Recorder that Cole's decision rejected the argument that we somehow relinquish our constitutional rights by participating in modern life. Thank you, Counsel Lay, whatever her name is. This is great because, like I tell every single one of you out there in the United States, your rights are natural born. It's not given, cannot be taken away. So you know what? You can laugh at the cops. You can laugh at that stupid judge and that butt boy, Counsel Jeffrey Shank. Oh yeah, well, cell phone users who are concerned about their privacy could either not carry their phones or turn them off. Shut up, you goody two-shoes. That's pathetic. You call yourself an attorney? Good. You know what? You should work at a Walmart, as far as I'm concerned. You should be ashamed of yourself. You just breached your oath. In your position, you need to step down because you're contaminating space. Disgusting. Downright nefarious. But you know what? I am very happy about this. I do applaud Judge Lucy Cole on making that decision. It's a big thumbs up for all the folks out there that have the mobile phone. They have to have a warrant. And you know what? Play with them, man. There's a lot of good gadgets out there. I'm planning to get one like Block It Pocket. I'm planning to get one. Drive these people crazy. And secure your phones too. But you know why? Because why make it easier for them? Let's drive them crazy. They may know, but they all know about us since the day we were born. They have followed us since birth. But you know what? Why make it easier for them? Oh, I'm nothing to hide. You know what? Drive them crazy. Remember, government in Latin, once again, means control of the mind. So, I gotta say, this is very good news for all my colleagues out there that have mobile phones that shouldn't be tracked. It has to have a Fourth Amendment search warrant. Plain and simple. And whatever you do, folks, if they go, can we use your phone? You say, no. If they say, why? Remain silent. That's all I gotta say. All right, next one here came from Mark Slavo from SHTFplan.com. And this one's entitled, I haven't read his stuff in a while, but you know what? I'm going to do it now. Are we forced into a second American Civil War? If so, who will win? You know what's interesting about that? I'll say the first Civil War. The second one was the War of Southern Independence or against Northern aggression. And I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I can say that. All right. And it says here, a cultural war has been stirred up. Divisions are along predictable lines. Racism, police abuse, controversial social issues, and plenty of left versus right. Demographics and regional baggage a clash over as well. And by all accounts, differences and distinctions between people have been intensifying, not blurring and fading away. According to the Washington Post, many Americans have been relocating themselves in one of 11 distinct areas of the country to live with like-minded people. The best way to keep us from fighting the real enemy is to keep us fighting amongst ourselves. That's right, Mind Control 101. He's absolutely correct. But could the cultural war ever turn into a real war? Some people actually think so, and it seems the military has been planning for the scenario too, for the potential economic and social breakdown is real, as InfoWars previously reported. The U.S. military agrees that the chance of a breakdown in the system is real. A new report from the U.S. Army College, here's a report, discusses the use of American troops to quell civil unrest brought about by the worsening economic crisis. The report from the War College Strategic Studies Institute warns that the U.S. military must prepare for a violent strategic dislocation inside the United States that could be provoked by unforeseen economic collapse or loss of functioning political and legal order. The report also warns possible rapid dissolution of public order in all insignificant parts of the U.S. And there's a link for that, too, for the report if anyone wants to read it. And we'll continue on here. Former Governor Rick Perry made a lot of noise about the succession in Texas. A Russian scholar even predicted the breakup of the United States into 6 parts, with the bankers recently control of the pieces, the grander North American Union. He also cited the vulnerable political setup, lack of unified national laws, and divisions among the elite, which become clear in these crisis conditions. He predicted that the U.S. will break up into 6 parts. The Pacific Coast with a growing Chinese population, the South with its Hispanics, Texas with its independence movements are on the rise, the Atlantic Coast with its distinct and separate mentality, the 5 of the poorer central states with their large Native American populations, and the northern states where influence from Canada is strong. Here's the part of the long answer that one former Marine, John Davis, gave to the question, if every state of the USA declared war against each other, which would win? There are accounts of the Second American Civil War, also known as the Wars of Unification, and the Americans warring wars state period. After the breakup, many wonder which state will come out of control of power, void created by dissolution of the United States. There were many with a little chance against several of the larger, more powerful states. The states in possession of a large population, predisposition of military bases, and a population open to the idea of warfare fared the best. In long term, we would look to the states with self-sufficiency and long-term military capabilities. Here are the states held the greatest strategic value from day one. They have the ability to be self-sufficient, economic strength, military strength, the will to fight, and the population to support a powerful war machine. It says here, California, Texas, New York, others that have the same qualities that gave the advantage are also listed. Washington, Colorado, Illinois, Virginia, Florida, and Georgia. Wow. His full answer includes simple journals from nearly 3,000 day war he envisions, which now being optioned by Hollywood. To make a long story short, California, Texas, and New York become the power bases for the second American Civil War, and each carves out an empire of the mainland of allied subjugated states, which add to the balanced resources. Here is David's final map, full account. And you can look at it. Like just some gray areas came from Wisconsin all the way to Kentucky, from Virginia into Maine, and looks like Montana will be half split, part of Wyoming, like a third of Wyoming, maybe or maybe 20% of Wyoming may be divided up. And it said, let me see. Yep, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, from Florida to North Carolina to Tennessee, and it goes around to Missouri, Iowa, and Minnesota. So that whole area, he says, is going to be considered unified. And I'll tell you one thing, Southern folks, we got our guns. Now, I'm from Florida. I can say that I lived there for 38 years. And you know what? Some of the folks try to say, I shouldn't own these farms. But you know what? Lord willing, hopefully it won't happen. We got to be ready at all times against all forms of tyranny. And I say that with love. And I know, too, that Alaska and Hawaii will be part of the blue region, which is from Arizona, Utah, I would say about 20% of Wyoming, half of Montana, from Idaho to Washington, all around. And, of course, Alaska and Hawaii will join them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's interesting here. The attempts to unify the former nations are shaky at best. Things may not be simply as carefully divided the states, but there are already many layers of conflict throughout society, and some of it has already turned to violence, riots, and bloodshed. Unfortunately, it can happen here, but will it? How much farther will things go, and will any notice the hidden hand behind those events? Who are the real controls, and who stand to gain from a new civil war? That's something you always got to think about. Kio bono, who benefits? Other banksters may be behind this. Yeah, it's possible. How about the New World Order? Absolutely. Always hope and pray something like this won't happen. But when you got division, propaganda, and you got, neo-mercantiles trying to suck up everything you got, and taxaholics, oppressors, demoniacs, whatever you want to call them, wants to divide everything up. I'll tell you this, my friends. If every state in the Union denounces the United States as a federal corporation, that will lead everything pointing the finger at Washington, D.C. They trying to play the cards. A lot of them are bought and paid for. And even Jimmy Carter, the peanut head he was as president, which I always consider him a patsy as well. The man had the conscience saying he's an oligarch. I know he tried to have good intentions, but there's rumors that he went to a little room and he came out crying. He was a bellboy. Not to serve to the people, but to the scumbags out there, or demoniacs. So, just really, hopefully, and pray this will not happen, because we don't want to see any bloodshed in this nation whatsoever. Full-fledged war. I'm not a warmonger, but if I have to prepare myself, yes. George Washington says at one time, if you want peace, you have to prepare for war. But hopefully this won't happen. Now with technology, we can make a difference. Every single one of you within the United States and the world, because it affects everybody, can make a difference. Always remain proactive. Don't complain. Who cares about the material things? It's useless. It's invalid. It's null and void in my realm. Knowledge is power. Ignorance is enslavement. And make sure we hope and pray that the United States needs to be a republic once again, rather than an empire. And that's it for that. Next one here came from The Intercept, unofficial source. This is by Jana Winter, and it says here, TSA's behaviors detection program has a newsletter and it's ridiculous. The Transportation Security Administration's embattled behavior detection program has not identified a single terrorist, but it has produced glossy bi-monthly newspapers poking fun at the traveling public. And these employees' newsletters, 6 of which were obtained by the Intercept behavior detection officers who are supposed to help spot possible terrorists, sometimes make fun of inexperienced or nervous travelers, including one sweet little old lady who thought the bowl for metallic objects with a tip jar was a tip jar. And there's a newsletter for that. And it says here, on their own, the newsletters could be regarded as lighthearted workplace fun, but they are also part of a controversial billion-dollar program known as screening of passengers by observation techniques, or SPOT. How cute. Which employs specially trained officers known as behavior detection officers to rate passengers going through screenings for signs of deception. Those alleged signs of deception which the Intercept revealed earlier this year include excessive yawning, the wringing of hands, and have been widely criticized for lacking any basis in science or even common sense. The Intercept also reported on programs' flawed design that targets undocumented immigrants, not potential terrorists. The newsletter issues range from 7 to 9 pages and provide a forum for behavior detection officers to share stories about confiscated wine, showcase original poetry, and ode to Alaska, for an example, and in one case, promote an officer's dog breeding business. The officer says her TSA training to spot deception helps her read potential dog buyers. Let's try to be a bunch of mind control advocates here. A section called BDO Funnies highlight naive or nervous passengers, including an example of an officer successfully convincing one woman going through security that a swab used to detect explosives was a test for DNA. At other times, the newsletter praised behavior detection officers for providing customer service for the traveling public by explaining security procedures or helping passengers. There are also mentions of various pilot programs, tests, or attempt to test out metrics to track and evaluate the program overall. Some office details their goal for the year. This year's goal is to visit the botanical garden, which is adjacent to the beautiful and newly remodeled airport, and learn more about the indigenous plants and species that share in improving our air quality. Reads one item. Other highlight past memorable moments or achievements. One team, for example, wrote about a botched attempt to reheat a chicken sandwich in an airport break room microwave. Someone forgot to remove the foil wrapper, and the sandwich bin became engulfed in flames and exploded. Much of the newspaper space is devoted to very lengthy regional articles about the weather, which headlines, surviving the snow in Bagnor, Maine, beating the summer heat in Milwaukee. Yes, it snows in Arizona. The newsletter also oversights into the background of some behavior detection officers who are supposed to be able to spot potential terrorists just by looking at them. How many of us can look back about 20 years at the Susan Smith case, specifically at the famous news conference where she insisted that there had been a carjacking and the children were in the car, wrote one officer. I turned to my husband and said, she's lying. I knew nothing about BDOs. at that time. I just knew that her behavior contradicted her words. Prior to joining TSA, the behavior detection officer worked as a travel agent for Walt Disney Company. Newly confirmed TSA Administrator Peter Neffenger faced tough questions from lawmakers earlier this week about the agency's failure to spot weapons and explosives 96% of the time in recent tests. The congressional panel also raised questions about behavior detection officer program. Neffenger said he needed to continue to look at the program before making decisions about its future. In response to Intercept's questions about the content and purpose of the newsletters, TSA spokesperson Bruce Anderson said they were one of the myriad methods used by the agency to engage and encourage communication across its workforce. Engaged and informed workforce is critical to the TSA's mission while ensuring that we treat all passengers fairly with dignity and integrity. The spokesperson said via email, employees who feel part of a community and recognize are more engaged and better perform their security mission. BDO's Motion is a newsletter written by behavior detection officers. As always, professionalism and integrity at the core of who we are as Homeland Security professionals, and TSA strives to demonstrate this with every passenger at every important around the country. TSA did not answer the Intercept's questions regarding the cost and time involved in producing the BDO's newsletter, and they do come out like a bi-monthly basis. You can see them, all the links right here. This one here is 7 pages long. Let's see what he has to say here. It's from Document Cloud. So the links you see about Document Cloud. So, importance of team building, thank a colleague. Yep, so it's just one of those things you gotta really look at, my friends. So you can look at those links. And I just find that sometimes, like I said before, I'm not crazy about the TSA. I'm not saying everyone in there are bad folks, but it's always been a bad concept. And they try to use September 11th as an excuse for everything. And they want you to believe that your freedoms are done or has been compromised. But you know what? You don't have to. Alright, and I know there's other cases. Maybe they may be evicting more TSA officers at the airports. Who owns those airports? The counties, the cities, the people who live there. It's public funded. Think about that. It is half-assed, I would say, in good faith. I have to agree with Jana Winter on this. And it's a real shame when you got folks out there who are trying to do things right, and you got these people believe they're smarter than everybody else. You know what? It's not going to work. It's going to blow back in your faces. So tell that to the TSA. Tell it to that dumb Michael Chertoff guy. What you mean, son of the devil, but in Russian, the Rapid Scan company who had lots of stocks in. So you know what? This is totally unacceptable, and I'm just wondering where are getting the money from? All right. I'm just looking around here, see what we got. Yeah. Okay, cool. Alright, cool. Well, next one here came from Natural Blaze. I got this from Activist Post, who they retweeted it. Good guys, man. Check out activistpost.com. Follow them on Twitter. They're really good. They're really good at what they do. These guys don't play around. And it says here, FDA adds heart attack and stroke warning to some painkillers. Try this. This is by, the ANHUSA. Yeah, okay. It says here, why did it take the FDA so long to warn consumers about these increased dangers? And why, despite these new warnings, does the agency seriously understate the risk? Earlier this month, the FDA announced it would be strengthening its warnings on non-aspirin, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAID, updating what is already printed on many NSAID labels about the drug's increase of risk of a heart attack or stroke. The updated labels will include language which warn that these serious side effects can occur as early as the first few weeks of using an acid. The risk may increase with the longer use of the acid, and that the risk appears greater at higher doses. Acids are typically used to relieve pain or fever that result from a variety of conditions. Some of the brands that upheld the update that will have the updated warnings include Celebrex, Advil, Aleve, and Daypro. This is half-hearted. Too much late admissions by the FDA of the dangers of acid is hardly enough to protect Americans from the well-documented dangers of the class of drugs, as well as other common over-the-counter painkillers such as acetaminophen. Acetaminophen. It's acetaminophen. In example, Tylenol. Throughout the years, we've documented the scientific evidence showing how deadly these painkillers can be. One study conservatively estimated that 107,000 people were hospitalized each year for acid-related gastrointestinal complications. At least 16,500 acid-related deaths occur each year among arthritis patients alone. Another study showed that patients who took acid have a 90% greater likelihood of dying from all causes. Daily or long-term use of aspirin double the risk of internal bleeding and does not reduce heart attacks, risk of people with no history of heart problems. By the FDA's own calculation, acetaminophen, active ingredient in Tylenol, I hope I pronounced that right, was the leading cause of liver failure in Americans between 1998 to 2003. There was no reason to think that this has changed in the years since, despite the fact the New York Times published an article blasting the nutritional supplements, specifically iced tea, green tea extract, for causing liver damage without even once mentioning the damage done by acetaminophen. Okay, in the same way, the FDA has left acetaminophen out of its latest warning. Is this because of industry pressure? It's hard to see any other reason. Can we say bribery? Every year, 78,000 people go to the emergency room from acetaminophen overdose, rather accidental or intentional. The problem was so bad that the FDA asked doctors to stop prescribing any medication that has more than 325 milligrams of acetaminophen per dose. Of course, this ignores the fact that if consumers think the prescribed dose isn't cutting pain, many will think nothing of taking an extra tablet or two. A study published in JAMA Pediatrics found that Tylenol taken by women during pregnancy could raise the risk of ADHD and similar disorders in their children by up to 40%. Another study showed that women taking acetaminophen during pregnancy increased the risk of their children having serious behavior problems at age 3 by 70%. Considering this evidence is outrageous that the FDA has not been more vigilant in making these products safer, or at the very least includes acetaminophen in its updated warnings, especially given how widely these products are used both for everyday purposes and for the millions of Americans in chronic pain. The good news is, there is research and clinical evidence supporting natural solutions for pain that are non-addictive and cost-effective. You can see our past coverage from a comprehensive list what has been studied, but here's a short review of some of the alternatives to NACID. And there's the past coverage is a link for that too, and it says here dietary supplements, sulfur-containing MSM, which is sulfonyl lamethane not only provides pain and anti-inflammatory relief for osteoarthritis, but also can be effective for hay fever and other allergies. As many of us do not get enough usable sulfur in our diet, MSN is offered in powder as well as supplement form, which also facilitates the larger doses that may be necessary of pain and allergy relief. Turmeric, ginger, basilia, and bromelain exhibit remarkable anti-inflammatory properties. Bromelain should be taken at high doses on an empty stomach. As an example, at lef.org, which there are links for that. Cayenne cream reduces substance P, a chemical component of nerve cells that transmits pain signals to brain. Sexto Meristolax as a joint lubricant and anti-inflammatory. The GLA and even primrose, blackcurrant, and borage oils can help arthritis pain. A member of our staff uses self-alpine herb butterbur for headaches and migraines, which can often be a side effect of prescription drugs. It also works well for hay fever because a toxic element must be removed from the plant. Used as a reliable preparation such as Petolodix, Cemento, a form of cat's claw, an herb, green abstract tea, and zeaxanthin and other carotenoids can help manage rheumatoid arthritis. Natural alternatives are particularly important given serious and sometimes fatal side effects of prescriptions RA treatments. Even if you already take fish or krill oil, higher than normal dosage or anti-inflammatory may help you manage pain. Injection therapies that stimulate your body's natural healing mechanisms. All of the following can only be delivered when appropriate by a knowledge and skilled integrative physician. Prolotherapy is an injection of natural substances into chronically injured areas of the body. The injected substances themselves do not do healing. Do not do the healing. Instead, they stimulate cell growth in the tissues. They stabilize weakened joints, cartilage, ligaments, and tendons. That's very, very good. Ozone therapy, a type of oxidative medicine that can also be used to treat viral and fungal infections. An injection of oxygen gas, ozone, into affected areas. Ozone has been shown to deactivate bacteria, stimulate oxygen metabolism, and activate the immune system. Oxygen therapy. Ozone molecules are composed of 3 oxygen atoms are bound together. Oxygen molecules have such atoms. Other forms of oxygen therapy, such as hyperbaric oxygen therapy or HBOT, may help as well by flooding wounded tissues with this pressurized oxygen that needs to repair itself. And prozolone therapy utilizes injections that are a combination of the collagen producing substances and ozone. As a fusion of prolotherapy and ozone therapy is sometimes described as a major advance of both treatments. This is really good stuff. Like I tell people, man, hey, Mother Nature's a lot more complex than what we think, my friends. And you know what? Don't be shy. Don't be shy for checking all this out. Because the whole thing is this. The big pharmaceutical companies don't want us to know this. That's why with the whole ACA debacle, I call it the wet dream. That's all it is. One big pipe dream. They're saying that we know better than you how to handle your health, so you could trust us. Come on, I could just take a dump and throw it at them. I find that more intriguing. But definitely check this out. And there's a cool little link here too. Of 400 companies do not use GMOs in their products, so I gotta check that out next time around. So I did post it on Facebook and my Twitter and Google+, so you definitely check it out. But it's going to be on my podcast episode as well. Okay, so next one here is from the Ron Paul Liberty Report. And I'm gonna do something here. Yeah, I'm on there. Okay, cool. Always, see, how come I'm not? Yeah, okay, my friends. This one is here. Libertarians News You Can Trust. Ron Paul's a community of like-minded readers and commentators. Join us. And this one right here came a couple of days ago, the 29th. Bernie Sanders and his war against supply and demand is by Chris Roncini. Vox ran an extensive interview with presidential hopeful Bernie Sanders, and it's very concerning that a large number of Americans are buying what he's selling. Bernie likes to refer himself as a democratic socialist, which should be viewed as nothing more than trying to soften the ugliness of socialism by throwing the word democratic in front of it. Regardless of what Sanders calls himself, this is not a man who believes in liberty. After reading the interview, you can't help but come away without knowing that he does not believe in private property, voluntary exchange, individual responsibility, supply and demand, or even the proper definition of the word right. So, in other words, everything has to be a privilege. Oh, Bernie, can I get married? Can I have sex with my girlfriend or my wife? Just to give you an example, I'm being a little sarcastic here. But that's okay, that's just me, my friends, yeah? That is just me. So, boom. I just gotta do a little monkey business here. And I will continue on. While page after page can be written and to refute the positions that Sanders holds, it is the interest of brevity. Let's just focus on one issue, and hopefully it can be easily be seen and how misinformed and confused Bernie really is. Bernie says, what the white-ring people in this country would love is an open border policy, bringing all kinds of people for work for $2 or $3 an hour. That would be great for them. I don't believe in that. For those of us that believe in liberty and voluntary associations, left wing and right wing are both disappointments since they describe to neither concept. But let's discuss that wage really is. In an economic, even hampered by government as ours is, individuals, in order to sustain themselves, must trade and exchange with other individuals. One thing that most of us trade is our labor. We each have different skill sets. They are demanded by potential employers in different proportions. If your skill set is in high demand, and employers must compete with each other to hire you, and they do so by offering your higher pay and benefits relative to the rest of the people who are selling their labor. There aren't many others like you, and that you have your skills. Employers must compete for you. On the opposite end, if there are many others who have the same skills that you do, and employers have many individuals, other individuals to choose from, in order to make yourself stand out, you may have to offer your labor at a cheaper price in order to get hired. You are competing with many others of that job. Either that, or you have to get rolling or upping your skill level so that you face less competition. Correct. It doesn't matter if you're in a union or not. More skills you got, the better opportunities you have. I will leave it at that. Labor, like everything else that is traded, operates under the laws of supply and demand. As long as all transactions are done voluntarily and neither party is allowed to use aggressive force, the transaction should be looked at with the highest ethical and moral regard. There is no such thing as a wrong wage as long as both parties freely agree to the terms. If they agree, it means they believe that there is life better off than not making the agreement. Bernie Sanders has a problem with supply and demand. He believes that everyone that is working should make at least $15 per hour. How can he arbitrarily make such a statement is hardly ever questioned. Anything under $15 should be forbidden by government against the law, according to Sanders. Logic dictates that such a law must harm the very people that Sanders proclaims to be helping. Under such a law, the large number of people who only have Rudimentary skills are forbidden by law in competing for a job. They can't offer their labors for less than $15 an hour, even if they want it, and are more happy to do. As a result, teenagers, low-skilled, poorest, most vulnerable members of our society are forced into unemployment by law. Bernie knows about youth unemployment problems. He has no idea of the cause. You know that youth unemployment is in the United States of America today. If you're white, high school graduate, it's 33%, Hispanic, 36%, African American, 51%. Of course, youth unemployment is high. The minimum wage forbids the youth from competing for a job. The minimum wage does not increase anyone's skill level. It merely dictates that those who do not have the skills to earn $15,000 hours must, through no fault of their own, head to the unemployment line. Bernie and his followers are fighting a battle that they cannot win. Man cannot override economic laws. The government will not negate supply and demand. Well, see, I always tell folks, yeah, $15 an hour might sound dandy. But you know what? Where's the fine print? That's the thing. I remember making $35 an hour. But now, with fiat, it just inflates, with no commodity backing. You know what I say? Let's fix our money instead of talking smack. Everyone's hyping up over Bernie Sanders, going after the Koch brothers. So what? I'm not saying I'm biased with them either. It's like the whole divide and rule game, like from the last episode. You know, like last couple segments I talked about, articles I talked about. Come on, folks. Look at the bigger picture. Study the history of money. Like I said, there's a commodity, which is gold and silver, platinum, and other metals, precious metals. Fiduciary note in Latin means trusted note, has commodity backing. And fiat, how long can it last? Print up in thin air. Look what happened to the U.S. dollar when it got out of the gold standard. Things just went up in a period of time. Right now, it's 44 years now that happened, and it hasn't busted yet. And if you look at the history of the fall of the Reichsmark, same thing happened, but in 6 years it was a total bust. People threw the money in the streets in the Weimar Republic of Germany, and who took advantage of it? The Nazis, the National Socialist Workers' Party. Something to think about. The past is today's greatest teacher, my friend. I know some people may praise the Nazis. There's always a reason why all this started. Everything has its rough edges, pros and cons and all that. But Bernie Sanders is trying to give you the whole song and dance. Study your history. Then you can start calling these individuals out. Plain and simple. And Congressman Christopher Sony's right, and even I talk about stuff like the last episode. Bernie Sanders he supported war in Iraq. So you know what? I don't need a nanny, but a servant. And Bernie Sanders is no servant to the American people, like many others in Washington D.C. Plain and simple. Don't believe the hype. It's all staged, my friend. Beware of the bread and circuses hour. And beyond. Okay, next one here actually came from Judicial Watch. Oh yeah, some pretty good stuff here on Judicial Watch, and it's came out today to be exact. It says here, court threatens Obama's IRS commissioner with contempt. And it reads here, federal judge threatens to hold IRS commissioner, justice attorneys in contempt over learners' emails. Oh, yeah. This was quite a week for those of us demanded that the Obama IRS be held accountable to the rule of law for its abuse of innocent taxpayers. We received more documents that expose more Obama administration misconduct and lies in the IRS scandal. Hopefully, Deborah Washington Schultz has read this or listened to this show. And a federal court judge threatened to hold the IRS commissioner personally in contempt over agency's violations of his court orders. U.S. District Court Emmett Sullivan threatened to hold the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service and Justice Department attorneys in contempt of court after the IRS failed to produce status reports and newly recovered emails of Lois Lerner's, the former director of the Exemption Organizations Unit of the IRS, and he has ordered on July 1st, 2015. During the status hearing Wednesday, Sullivan warned that the failure to follow his order was serious and that the IRS and the Justice Department's excuses for not following for his July 1st order was indefensible, ridiculous, and absurd. He asked the IRS Justice Department lawyer Jeffrey Kilmus, why didn't the IRS comply with this court order, and why shouldn't the court hold the commissioner of the IRS in contempt? Judge Sullivan references contempt findings against Justice Department prosecutors in the prosecution of the late Senator Ted Stevens, Republican from Alaska? Yeah, it's Alaska, yeah. And reminded the Justice Department attorney court has a liability to detain him for contempt, warning he will not tolerate no further disregard for his order, Judge Sullivan said. And if there is a further noncompliance, I will haul into the court at the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service to show cause why that person should personally be held in contempt, and I cannot make that any clearer. Read the transcript of the hearing. I urge you to click here. So there's a transcript for that. And it says here, after the hearing, Judge Sullivan issued the following minute order, which is a link for that. Light blue fonts. It is a link. So just to give you guys a heads up. After July 29, 2015, status hearing, the government agreed that the court's July 1st, 2015 oral order from the bench was clear and enforceable. Nonetheless, the government reasoned inappropriate to file a motion for reconsideration until a written order was issued. As expressed at the hearing, government's reasoning is nonsensical. Officers of the court who fail to comply with the court's orders would be held in contempt. Also, in the event of the noncompliance with the future court orders, the Commissioner of the IRS and others shall be directed to show cause as to why they should not be held in contempt of court. Bunch of glam boys. You think you're above the law, but you are not. Okay. The court's July 1st ruling from the bench stands. 1. The government shall produce relevant documents every Monday. 2. The government documents production shall be accompanied by a status report that indicates A. Whether the TIGTA has turned over any new documents to the IRS. B. If so, the number of documents. And C. A time frame of the IRS's production for those documents signed by Judge Emmett G. Sullivan on July 29, 2015. Back during the July 1st, 2015 status conference, Sullivan has ordered the IRS to begin producing every week nearly 1,800 newly recovered learners' emails responsive to Judicial Watch's Freedom of Information Act request, or FOIA. Despite the court order, the IRS did not produce any learners' emails until July 15th. The IRS also failed to provide Judicial Watch weekly status report of the learner emails. Production issues also ordered by Sullivan. Last week, Judge Sullivan ordered sua sponte the parties to appear for a hearing after Judicial Watch raised concerns about the IRS's failure to comply with this order. The developments come in Judicial Watch's FOIA lawsuit seeking documents about the Obama's IRS targeting and harassment of the Tea Party and conservative opponents of President Obama. There is a case for that. Judicial Watch Inc. versus Internal Revenue Service number 1:13-SV-01559. All right. Judicial Watch's litigation forced the IRS first to claim that learners' emails were supposedly missing and then that the emails were on the IRS's backup system. The day before extraordinary court hearing, Judicial Watch released the first batch of 906 pages of Lerner's believed to be newly recovered emails. The new documents show that Lerner's and other top officials in the IRS, including soon-to-be acting IRS Commissioner Steve Miller, closely monitored and approved the scandalous handling of tax-exempt applications by the Tea Party organizations and individuals. The documents also show at least one group received an inquiry from the IRS in order to buy time and keep the organization from contacting Congress. We believe these emails were recovered by the agency's own internal watchdog, the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, or TIGTA. Lerner sent a November 3, 2011 email documenting her concerns about the failure to process applications in a timely manner. I'm getting a little nervous about the amount we have on our plate and how we are handling. I know everyone is working hard and juggling, but I am wondering whether the juggling decisions are being made holistically enough. We have only so many resources, and things will probably get worse going forward. I worry that decisions about how to use the resources are being made with all the information. Something that may not have seemed important in Cincinnati may be crucial in D.C. Similarly, D.C. may be prioritizing its work based on what is sitting in D.C. when something sitting in Cincinnati should be focused on D.C. work. IRS Program Manager Cindy Thomas of the Cincinnati Exempt Organization Office replied to Lerner a few hours with an email detailing the pressure caused by the IRS's Washington headquarters failure to move on the advocacy case. Thomas warned of litigation, then admitted that she authorized a letter for more information that was sent to one of the complaining groups to keep from contacting Congress. The backlog of work involves advocacy organizations. As about a month ago, that were 161 of these cases sitting idle, and we probably have more by now. The control dates of these cases go back to the end of 2009 and all through 2010. We've been waiting for EO in D.C. to get us guidance or reference document with lessons learned from the C4 and C3 cases. They worked and coordinated with Julie Kendall and counsel. We're getting calls from POAs wanting to know who has put the halt on working these cases and threatening to contact their congressional offices. Just today, I instructed one of my managers to get an additional information letter out to one of these organizations, if nothing else, to buy, so he didn't contact his congressional office. Soon, we're going to start getting TAOs, or taxpayer assistance orders, from TAS, which is Taxpayer Advocate Service, or declaratory judgment cases filed. Then I guess everyone will decide it's time to start moving the cases when we have mounds of additional paperwork to process along with the cases, adding even more work for us to do. Another IRS lawyer responded to Lerner's email with an admission that the IRS's Washington headquarters legal staff had hundreds of cases backlogged. Michael Seto, who headed the exemption organization technical unit, acknowledged to Lerner on November 9, 2011 that there were 446 cases open in the beginning of the fiscal year 2012, with many open for more than 2 years. Emails also show that Lerner and other top officials of the IRS were aware of complaints about the treatment by the Tea Party groups. In response to a February 2010 complaint and request briefing from Jim Jordan, Republican from Ohio, with a House Oversight and Government Reform Committee about, according to the IRS, a Tea Party organization that applied for exemption about 18 months previously and only just recently heard anything about the status of its application. When it did finally hear from us, the IRS apparently asked some fairly detailed questions and gave the organization a short detail to respond. Miller who was then IRS Deputy Commissioner for Service and Enforcement, emailed, "Let me know it is a taxpayer I should know about." He also complained about the number of emails about the issue, writing, "Will the emails never stop?" Miller became acting commissioner of the IRS later in the year and was eventually forced out after the Obama IRS scandal became public in May 2013. Lerner handled the subsequent briefing of Representative Jordan, and the statement by the IRS in response did not mention backlogs. Tea Party targeting on Lerner's own concerns about the nature of the questions the IRS was sending to the Tea Party's applicants. Another email shows that Miller delayed guidelines for handling the backlog applications the very week after Lerner's briefing of Representative Jordan. The same email chain dated February 28 shows that in a response to a complaint from which Senator Mitch McConnell's Republican Kentucky about the Tea Party application delays, Lerner admits this is a very sensitive area. Just as it reviewed, it was back in May 2013 that the Treasurer Inspector for Tax Administration released an audit report confirming that the IRS used inappropriate criteria to identify Tea Party groups and other conservative organizations that had expressed opposition to the Obama administration's policies agenda during his re-election bid. In May 2014, Lerner was held in contempt of Congress after refusing to testify at a congressional hearing about the agency's actions. IGTA has proven to be a real goldmine for the truth that the IRS has worked to conceal. Earlier this month, TIGATA released another report confirming that the IRS failed to timely search its backup tapes, resulting in 24,000 Lerner emails being destroyed. The TIGTA report also confirmed that the IRS Commissioner John Koskinen delayed informing Congress and the courts for months about Lerner's email issues. Keep in mind that all of these developments come in response of the JW's FOIA lawsuit seeking documents about the Obama's IRS targeting the harassment of the Tea Party and conservative opponents of President Obama. Let's be clear about what's happening here. These recovered Lerner's emails had to be dragged out of the Obama IRS, which is still resisting a federal court order requiring disclosures of Lerner's lost emails. This material shows that the IRS cover-up began years ago. We now have smoking gun proof that top officials in the Obama IRS unlawfully harassed taxpayers just to keep them from complaining to Congress about the IRS's targeting and abuse. No wonder the Obama IRS has such a little interest in preserving or finding Lerner's emails. I am grateful that Judge Sullivan made it clear that he would personally hold accountable IRS Commissioner Koskinen and Justice Department attorneys for any further contempt of his court orders in our FOIA lawsuit. The missing and then not missing Lerner email saga is a stark example of the Obama administration contempt for a federal court and the rule of law. That the Obama administration officials would risk jail than disclose these Lerner documents shows that the IRS scandal has just gotten a whole lot worse. Judicial Watch's legal term, led by Director of Litigation Paul Arfanides, deserves special kudos here. Their legal brilliance and persistence in court against an army of taxpayer-funded lawyers at the Justice Department and IRS paid off once again this week. Fantastic. I do love to hear that. Yeah, with the whole thing with the IRS. I think this is fantastic. I am very thrilled that actions are happening. It's not gonna occur overnight, my friends, but in a period of time, now with technology, you can know about these rights, you can go after these people, you can get information, and let them threaten you. You know why? Because it's more of an inspiration than being in fear. This is what these bastards want. The Internal Revenue Service has been doing it for a long time. Intimidate people that are productive. And you know what? The rate things are going is blowing back in their faces. They are not above the law. And that's why I tell folks for a long time that our Internal Revenue Service is nothing more than a monumental deception, and I say that out of respect. Not everyone in there are wicked folks, but many of them are coming out, talking about it, about how dirty a lot of these individuals are. And like I tell people, it doesn't matter what party or movement you're in, you should not be targeted if you criticize the administration, the president, or any elected servant, whether it's federal, state, or local. It's unacceptable. Reprisals are illegal, null and void. Freedom of speech still exists. Whether they like it or not, they can make these dumbed down, stupid ass laws, it's still invalid. Null and void. And right now, we'll continue on here. Judicial Watch exposes key document in government-funded, race-based Hawaii separatist vote. This is real interesting here. And it says here, the liberal uproar over the Confederate flag is an ironic in light of an effort supported by federal tax dollars, courtesy of the Obama administration, to allow leftists in Hawaii to conduct a racially discriminatory campaign that could lead to Hawaii actually trying to leave the United States of America. The liberal media won't tell you about the pernicious effort, but Judicial Watch is on the case, and I can report to you a success in our court efforts. We have just obtained race-based enrollment lists of Native Hawaiians and created in accordance with the Kana Iola, the controversial racial registration campaign by the Native Hawaiian Royal Commission. Your JW obtained a list under the June 3rd, 2015 court order issued an open records lawsuit that our legal team filed against the Royal Commission seeking the release of documents related to the campaign. If you're a Hawaiian, I encourage you to search the list to see if your name was added. And there's links for that too. We began the battle earlier this year when we filed the application for order allowing inspection of public records to obtain records regarding the campaign. The Grassroots Institute of Hawaii, a Hawaii-based think tank, partnered with us on this investigation. On July 20th, 2012, using taxpayer funds from the state's Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Native Hawaiian Royal Commission launched the Kana Iola campaign, opening a registration process for Native Hawaiians who desire to vote for a new race-based sovereign government. Upon registration closing in January 2014, only about 40,000 Native Hawaiians has registered. Trying to inflate the list numbers, the Royal Commission then reopened registration in March and again in August of 2014. During this period, the State Office of Hawaiian Affairs transferred government lists of Native Hawaiians who had previously registered their ancestry with the state agency to the Kana Iola campaign. At least 87,000 names were transferred to the NHRC's enrollment list in this way. The result in registrants placed on the enrollment list without their knowledge or consent. Interesting. Individuals who object to being added to the race-based voter roll without their permission are compelled to file a form to have their names removed. This enrollment list was created under Act 195, the 2011 Hawaiian law that authorized the Native Hawaiian Royal Commission to create a list of Native Hawaiians who would be eligible to vote on issues concerning the sovereignty of the Native Hawaiian people. Act 195 defines a Native Hawaiian as any person whom government determines to be direct descendant of the state's Aboriginal peoples. A person may register for the Kana Iola if, besides the meeting the law's racial requirements, that individuals have maintained a significant cultural, social, or civic connection to the Hawaiian community and wishes to participate in organizing and anticipate Native governing entity. The Royal Commission defines Konaola as the din that is being created by the mass of people who are coming together to moving forward to strive and achieve to recognize the relinquished sovereignty of the Native Hawaiian people. Again, now that the list is public, any individual concerned that their name is properly, they can check the list here, which is a Judicial Watch site. If your name appears on the list, or your child's name, or your minor child's name, and you wish to have it be removed, you should contact Native Hawaiian Royal Commission, P.O. Box 75331, Honolulu, Hawaii 96836. The NHRC phone number is 808-973-0099. Unfortunately, too many Hawaiians will learn that they have been registered without permission on a race-based enrollment list to help radicals in the Hawaii tear the state apart and break away from the United States. Trying to divide American citizens by race is bad enough, but signing citizens up for this project without even telling them is particularly nasty abuse of government power. A group of leftist radicals is trying to bring apartheid to Hawaii. Hawaiians should check this enrollment list to make sure they have no part in this plot. The Obama administration has given movement, aid, and support. It took executive action to reestablishment of government-to-government relationship with the Native Hawaiian community. So, as liberal pressure has led to the removal of the Confederate flag in South Carolina, liberals pushing new race-based secession movement in Hawaii with your tax dollars. There will be more JW action on the issue. Stay tuned. And I did talk about the secession of Hawaii. And like I said, it has to be done by choice. But if their names are on there, that's without their consent, that's called conscription, or other words, involuntary servitude, which it violates human law, natural law, or the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Okay, and this is completely unacceptable. And based on what I read, our tax dollars their tax dollars is doing this. You know what? That's considered RICO. Okay, RICO, which is racketeering, involvement, crime organization. I hope I got that right. That's what RICO means. And that's totally unacceptable. If people want to succeed, they do on their own terms and in good faith. 10th Amendment stand. I know there's a lot of talk about, too, about they were conquered, but they were a conquered nation. So it is, so they have a case. I'm not going to argue with that, but do it honorably. If you're going to make people put their names on there without their consent, hey, you're going to be shooting yourselves in the foot. That's how I have to see it. So definitely, hopefully I'll try to stay tuned with this issue because it is very, very essential. So I am going to move on here. Judicial Watch partners with the Blaze on documentary on border narco terror threat, the Sun City Cell. No other media outlet, no congressional committee, and no other non-governmental organization can match Judicial Watch's successes in fretting out what the government doesn't want you to know. On the issue of terrorism and the border, JW's journalism has an international impact. Our goal is to educate the public about the Islamist terror threat from our southern border and the government corruption and incompetence that places all Americans at risk. We've exposed ISIS terrorist threats on the border, terrorist arrests on the border, and ISIS camps in Mexico. Just this week, we highlighted how the terrorists are being brought here by the drug cartel. Mexican drug cartels are smuggling foreigners from countries with terrorist links into small Texas rural town near El Paso, and they're using remote farm roads rather than interstates to elude the Border Patrol and other law enforcement barriers, according to Judicial Watch. Both sides of the U.S.-Mexico-U.S. border. JW's law enforcement sources says the cartel are exploiting the Border Patrol and the Texas Department of Public Safety policies to tie the hands of law enforcement by limiting traffic stops and indirect interdiction operations. Our nation's unsecured border with Mexico is an existential threat to our nation. The American people sees the crimes committed by illegal alien criminals every day. The terrorist threat resulting from a crazed and lawless amnesty and non-security policies are potentially much more dangerous to the safety public. So Judicial Watch is especially pleased to announce a new documentary produced in partnership with Blaze TV that chronicle how an Al-Qaeda cell in New Mexico plotted a major terror attack against Chicago that would have been the most significant domestic terrorist attack since 9/11. Judicial Watch was the first to report this dramatic story, which included a plan to bomb Oprah Winfrey Studios and the iconic Willis Tower, renamed the Sirius Tower in Chicago. The Sun City cell is the story of the narco-terror plot that government officials deny that media outlets have failed to report. The documentary investigates corruption in the dark world of confidential informants in an attempt to expose an escalating threat to the nation. It presents evidence showing how a major U.S. city became an operational base and staging area for a terror cell, and how corruption among high-ranking government officials and law enforcement officers left the United States vulnerable to a major terrorist strike. The documentary is the product of a 4-year investigation by Judicial Watch. Christopher Farrell, our longtime director of investigation and research and a former military intelligence officer, has led our investigative and reporting efforts on narco-terror border threats. The document shows how Judicial Watch sources inside law enforcement and the government risk their lives to tell the truth to the American people. Expanding our groundbreaking investigative reports, the new documentary provides never-seen-before evidence and exclusive interviews to how Mexican drug cartels are transporting terrorists, drugs, and weapons into the United States completely undetected. As a Judicial Watch Weekly Update subscriber, you can watch the Sun City cell free for a limited time until Tuesday, August 4th. You can click here. There's the link for that. The password. Enter the password 20. Sun City. The Sun City password is Sun City 2015. After Tuesday, the documentary will be available anytime on demand via TV Blades. TV here. There's a link for that. The documentary is an educational milestone for Judicial Watch, so I encourage you to take advantage of this free offer and view this eye-opening. Yeah, so that's good. I'm glad they've done that, and I always have to say what's going on over there. Can it be a New World Order platform? Oh, absolutely. I am not going to be surprised whatsoever, because there's some plans to get this going, to dismantle the United States and make the North American Union a reality. So I'm definitely going to write this down, the password. I am going to get that going here. But I'm glad to put this out here. One thing about Judicial Watch, I always praise them. They're good at what they do, and it's not a Democrat-Republican thing, it's principle. So I encourage people to check it out, the video as well. And I'm going to have all my footnotes on a speaker page. So please definitely check this out. Go further and share with as many others as possible, because it affects every single one of us, not just the United States but the world. So this is how I see things. And some people think I'm crazy, but then they realize, how do you know? You got to study the patterns, my friend. That's why you got to always study the patterns. And I say that out of love. But definitely check it out. I might just check this out after I don't do the show. Okay, this pen shot. No problem. All right, next one here. Got like a few more left. Next one here came out yesterday. This is from, let me just check this out. Yeah. Yeah, this one came here. Walmart founder Sam Walton led prisoner of war camps for U.S. military underground and FEMA camps. And it says here, confirmed, very disturbing. Who was Sam Walton? The speculation has been rampant. What is James Helm doing? And why are so many Walmarts closing? Why are they lying to us? Here's the information. Here's the info. You might be surprised who Sam Walton really is. All the evidence indicating the underground tunnels. Walmart, James Helm, martial law, FEMA camps, the truth about Walmart founder Sam Walton's evil schemes is exposed. Matthew 6:22 says here, the lamp of the body is the eye. Is therefore your eye is sound. Your whole body will be full of light. Matthew 6:23, but your eye is evil. Your whole body is full of darkness. If therefore the light is in your darkness, how great is the darkness? And they have video footage here on this whole thing about Walmart and Walmart and FEMA camps and so forth. And it said, and I go on here, have you heard these stories everywhere that Walmart is closing the stores to usher in martial law? Well, fortunately, this is not true. Not yet anyway. Evidently, there's a legitimate reason Walmart is closing down store abruptly and claiming it's plumbing issues. Yes, it is really not plumbing issues. We knew that the real person is perhaps more, real reason is perhaps more sinister. So there's videos on that, and John Ailes' story. Let's see what John Ailes has to say about this. Alright, well, though didn't really say anything, so yeah, so let's talk about John Ailes' story. Yeah, so it becomes more John Ailes stories. Okay, yeah, so the videos are here, and you can just see it and judge for yourselves. I don't shop at Walmart. I'll make that real clear. I've been hearing stories about this for a very long time. And I've read stuff like books from Cult Rapture and a few other like conspiratorial related material like 15, 20 years ago. And you got to make your own decisions on this. I'm not here to put things out of fear when I read these articles such as this. This is only awareness. Always pay attention. Be vigilant by paying attention. So I'm not going to go over hype and hoopla over it, but there's a lot of strange things how the Walmarts are being built, which it can be used for FEMA stations or military stations and so forth, and they may have some undergrounds. But the whole thing is you have to go there and judge for yourself, all right? Yeah, I'm going to admit that. But next one here is from Democracy Now! Came out today. Will's prosecutors charge officers who lied to protect Ray Tensing after he shot Sam Dubose. And, of course, there's a video for that. And, of course, a lot of us knew that he has been arrested for murder. So I'm going to add this, I'm going to add this all up here. The transcripts are here, too. So it's one thing I don't want to see happen is that the people in Cincinnati needs to unite instead of divide. We can't do the race thing. It's just right now, based on what I witnessed on the video, it is very disturbing and unacceptable. You're not going to shoot somebody because they had their license tag was on the was not connected to the vehicle. That's totally irrelevant, and especially when you try to open up the door, and that's when the guy said, "Hey, hold on here," because he didn't have his license, but you're gonna blow his brains out. That's not right. But the truth of the matter is, you have to really look at the case itself. So I'm not going to really go too much into detail. You can see the video yourself. So I'm going to leave it on there. The whole like an interview. So definitely check it out. And finally, some good news, which I'm very, very pleased. This is from photographyisnotacrime.com. And I got this from a gentleman, one of my colleagues, who has a Republican with Liberty Minded. Mike Eckert name is, yeah, and I thank him for that. And he says here, Florida activist and journalist wins appeal for public records. Stuart Leiker doesn't let anything stand in the way of keeping his public servants accountable. The North Florida man has many talents, and he uses those talents to shine light on the issues that are more important in his community. He's definitely not bashful when it comes to asking for public records concerning the issues important to his community, sharing the information with his community on his website, ColumbiaCountyObserver.com. 2 years ago, the Florida activist started questioning the Lakeshore Hospital's authority about a construction project proposal estimate cost $500,000. The LSHA is a Florida public agency that controls the maintenance and operation of the Shands Lakeshore Regional Medical Center in Lake City, Florida. Liker is no stranger to the LSHA, and he has attended their meetings for several years. He wasted no time asking the records custodian for the project's plan and for the line item account of their budget. The LSHA staff made many attempts to place restrictions for access to public records in their custody. Their first attempt to deny access was a demand for fees to copies of the project's plan so that these copies could be provided to Liker for inspection. After many demands for the production of the document, he was told he could view the records between the hours of 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. He was also have to give 24-hour notice before he arrived for his 1-hour window to view public records. Oh man, these guys are pretty damn stupid, alright? I'm sorry. The LSHA staff also had a problem making their line item budget available for inspecting. In response to his public records request, he was told that the requested records could be found on the LSHA website, but the website had problems displaying the records, so likely requested a hard copy that the LSHA refused to provide. The restrictions that LSHA set for Liker were a clear violation of Florida's increasingly broad public records law. Pursuant to 119.07 subsection 1A Florida statute, every person has a custody of a public record shall permit to be inspected and copied by any person in desiring to do so at any reasonable time under the reasonable conditions and other supervision of the custodian of public records. Liker wasted no time filing a lawsuit in Columbia County Court demanding the records and received summary judgment compelling the board make the documents available without restrictions. LSHA appealed the decision to the First Circuit Court of Appeals, even though they had no chance of winning. This month, the appellate court upheld the lower court's decision, affirming Liker's right to inspect documents at any reasonable time. According to appellate opinion, clearly this hampered appellate's right to inspect the records in the appellant's custody at any reasonable time. Moreover, there is no authority allowing appellants to automatically delay production of records for inspection by imposing a 24-hour notice requirement. In response of the denial of hard records of public, in the response up to the denial of hard copies of public records, the court opened access to public records by remote electronic means as merely an additional means of inspecting or copying public records. Florida Statute 119.07, subsection 2A. This emphasis added, this additional means access, however, is insufficient where the person requesting the records specifies the traditional method of access via paper copies. Liker is happy about the court's decision, which is not just his victory, it's a victory for all Florida citizens. This is good news for all those who are getting cocked around by folks that don't want to follow the spirit and intent of public records law. I believe that the court's unanimous opinion nailed it. You can read the full appellate court opinion here, and in Liker you can be reached at Stu Liker at ColumbiaCountyObserver.com. Stories continue below. I hope there's no stories continue below. And I think this is great. I am very happy. It's a huge victory for the people in Florida. And to those knuckleheads, okay, I'm going to give you a taste of the Florida Constitution. All right? I'll give you a taste of that, my friends, because here's the thing. The truth of the matter is, what they've done to him was illegal, null and void. And if I'm correct, it is Article 1, Section 24, Subsection A says every person has a right to inspect or copy any public record or receive in connection with official business of any public body, officer, or employee of the state or persons acting on their behalf, except with respect to records exempted pursuant to this section or specifically made confidential by this Constitution. This section specifically includes legislative, executive, and judicial branches of the government and each agency or department created thereunder, counties, municipalities, and districts, and each constitutional officer, board, and commission or entity pursuant to the law of this Constitution. So, right there, it's self-explanatory. Their actions, those douchebags' actions, okay, from the Lakeshore Hospital Authority is unacceptable, null and void. That's why I'm very proud of Mr. Leiker for keep on pushing that, keep on pushing. He made this happen. It is a victory for the Sunshine State. So that's why I have to really be very fond, and I'm very pleased to see that happen. And you know what? I got to give him the thumbs up. You got my homage, my friend, and I thank you for making this a fact, for making this official. I'm very proud of him. And everyone in Florida and people in the United States should give him the thumbs up and homage for making this a reality. All right. Well, that's it for now, my friends. I do like to thank everyone for listening to this episode. Plus, feel free to download and share this episode throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms, love letters, hate letters, information, or if you have disagreements, send it to me. Send me some memorable information. Would be great. I like honorable discussions, so always use it with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio for your comments. If not, or you can email me at LookYouLuck3, which is all together at gmail.com. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.